daily on Mario Nawfal's account, and today's a special day too because we had the all-time high for Bitcoin. We've dipped down a little bit since then. Yeah, I love the excitement. Dipped down a little bit, but we can still celebrate here. So we're gonna have a conversation just about that Bitcoin all-time high. Of course, we'll get into some AI.
We got breaking news, man. We got big breaking news. OpenAI has just announced they're a products company. They just hired bought Johnny Ive's secret AI startup for $6.5 billion, which dramatically changes the sphere. So we got to talk about that too.
100%. We'll certainly talk about that. And we have our sponsor today as well, PAI3, a personal AI network. And we have Pradeep here with us today. The last 20 minutes or so, we will dive deep into an AMA there. But Robert, why don't we kick it off here? Because I know that you really wanted to chat about this. Travis, I don't mean to jump over you, but the OpenAI buying Johnny Ives. Why don't you break the news for us and go into it?
Well, I've been catching the pieces of this all over Silicon Valley because I've been doing a lot of interviews with brain-computer interface companies, robotics companies, virtual things companies, a variety of companies building new models for a coming holodeck. Yesterday's announcements of Google's glasses gives you a taste of what's coming next year, of a virtual environment around you that you can talk to and have all these things happen. But OpenAI has been visiting these companies and looking for companies to buy and bring internal to build a products company. And they've also been hiring people like Caitlin from Meta, who runs their robotics team now. And she's really brilliant. And they've been doing all sorts of hiring, and I've been catching winds of that. Well, now that they're buying Johnny Ives, who's the by far the number one product thinker in the world, this dramatically changes my belief system about how the future might look. This won't change, products tonight, but over the next decade, you're going to see OpenAI go into robotics, go into virtual being kinds of things where you're going to have things in your house that you talk to and interact with in all sorts of contexts. Brain-computer interfaces, I have a lot of early brain-computer interfaces like this NextMind device that sits on the back of your head and sort of can tell what I'm looking at. But there's a whole raft of devices coming. Mark Zuckerberg has an armband coming that will control the glasses that he's going to announce in October. So there's a lot of things cooking underneath the covers here in Silicon Valley that is going to lead to dramatic new products for everybody in all these fields. And now that they have Johnny Ives, that makes OpenAI unavoidable.
Ridiculous. So you think Apple's shitting bricks right now or what?
Yeah, Apple should have been shitting bricks a year ago. Now, you can sort of see that they're really in trouble here, that they don't have a visionary at the top of their head who has a fucking clue about AI, has no models that they can show off. Apple Intelligence is inept. They're not coming to the AI startups in San Francisco and Silicon Valley. Google was. Sergey, a year ago, showed up to a lot of meetups in San Francisco, the co-founder of Google. And now you see what that kind of effort and that kind of focus and that kind of vision, it pays off. That yesterday's announcements by Google were really huge and show that Google is 2 years ahead of Apple in a whole raft of things. This just changes. Everything's changing in this world, and we better get used to that because the change is not going to slow down. I talked to a startup this morning that just blew my mind.
It changes so quick, and then next day you're like, oh my God, it just changed again. Like we're getting like years worth of innovation in like weeks. And then according to Stanford, they're saying AI powers are doubling every 5 months. And like that's insane, dude.
Yeah, and Bitcoin plays into this or all the crypto stuff because I have lists on crypto that I'm watching too. And money is always a big important thing of all products, right? How you make money, how you change money, how you transfer money, how you transact is really a big part in this thing. If a virtual being is sitting on your chair next to you and talking to you, and that's coming in the next 6 months, and maybe it won't be quite that finished at first, but by the end of next year, these things are going to be like Like I was talking to Donald Trump today. This entrepreneur was showing me his early prototypes. Holy fuck. It knew what was happening in the news in real time, and he could talk to me, and it sounded like Donald Trump. It looked like Donald Trump. It was insane. And so think about a world like that, where you're wearing a pair of glasses and you're talking to a virtual being like that, and maybe showing you some products, hey, let's dress up your house, or let's make you something, right? With these new AI agents. On Monday, 5 major new platforms came out that are shipping AI agents. And the AI, like Flowwith, I'm using, you type to it and it does all sorts of shit for you. That's like, wow.
What a time. Let's throw this over to AGI, because I mean, you're building some cool agent type stuff as well, and you've been doing stuff in artificial intelligence for so long. What are you looking at with this? Because we haven't chatted in a couple of weeks, and the world just changed again and again. How you doing?
I'm doing it incredible. It's changing very fast, of course, and I love that. I just love that. So I've been using Codex a lot recently. So I think I've been pushing kind of some 400 commits on GitHub in the last few days. So it's so helpful. It's so productive. So Codex is amazing. And so what I'm building is a tool, Alpha AGI Insight, to be able to foresee the future. So to foresee beyond what human can see. So where human stop to be able to predict the future, Alpha AGI Insight will be able to predict the rest. So as you know, I've been pioneering multi-agent AI DAO in 2017. So the AI agent on crypto, I've been pioneering that 7 years ago. So now I want to generalize that to all of the alpha out there from AGI. And according to Stuart Russell, we have 14 quadrillion in terms of USD, in terms of wealth to be created from AGI. So 15,000 trillion. That's 20 times the amount of wealth that has been created so far by humanity.
15,000 trillion? Good Lord.
Yes. Well, that's big. And the people,
the trillions over there.
Yeah, the people that will benefit will be the people that will know about it before everybody else. So I'm building an agent to be able to do that. So it's a meta agentic research that I did pioneer yesterday to be able to anticipate all of that.
Right
with no human data.
That's crazy. Let's send it over to Sharon. It's nice to see you again, Sharon. How are you doing? What do you think about this craziness? Literally, I think Robert hit it. Like, the world right now is just so wild.
Well, I'm not sleeping. I'm an AI researcher. I'm up all day and all night. I'm just waiting for the AI to come and take some sleep for me, or maybe the whole researching that I do, that I can go to sleep and have my AI do all that stuff for me. No, it's awesome. It's crazy what's going on. It's exciting to see all these big companies, what they're up to, what they're doing, and where this is all going to go. What I'm thinking about Bitcoin all-time high, that's awesome. People, I am so excited. I can't wait for altcoin season. I smell it. It's around the corner. But you know what? Those agents that we're talking about, when will they be able to pay on our behalf? I think that that's going to be so important. And when PAI, or do I say PAI3, personal, private, people-owned AI. This is the future, y'all, because I want my agents to go shopping for me and buy clothes and all that stuff. So I can't wait to have an AI agent that has crypto and that can do all that stuff on my behalf, because that's going to make it really wonderful for us.
Just get like random stuff in the mail from Amazon. Like, what is this?
Well, hey, if it can read my thoughts, if it can read my mind, it'll know what I want before I even want it. You know what I mean? That's how the future is going to be.
That's so wild. That's crazy. So Pradeep, she sent it over to you. What do you think about this?
Well, it's very exciting space. I mean, Robert's excitement is well founded. Having a human interface to AI in the form of robots or embedded chips or devices that read our thoughts, all of that boils down to the ability for the consumer to interact with AI in a way that makes sense to them. It's all about creating that human interface that we can all relate to. So in that sense, it's really exciting. And I think on the converse side of that is making the AI agents relevant. And, we are very focused on that. We can talk about that later in terms of having agents or cluster of agents that are semi-autonomous, that know enough about me and can access my very intimate and personal information without leaking my privacy to do things that as a consumer want, and equally importantly, as a professional I want. If I'm a doctor or an orthodontist or a CPA or a lawyer, I'm not going to be able to use AI unless it comes to me. So in terms of personalizing, making agent private, accessible, and highly relevant to me without any leakage of my privacy, identity, or compliance, I think that's the other interface we need. We need the consumer interface that Johnny Ive is going to bring to OpenAI. And we also need the professional interface that a doctor can use AI in their clinic without going to jail. Those are the two extremes.
The Overton window around privacy is shifting and shifting fast. The virtual being companies that I'm seeing, where you can take a picture or a video of yourself, you can read a little bit to a computer, and then it can make a virtual version of you, is going to be mind-blowing to a lot of people. And they're going to resist it at first. They're going to say, I'm never going to do that, just like they did with selfies or buying a phone or, or the news feed itself, right? 1 million people protested when Mark Zuckerberg turned on news feeds, right? Yeah. We always protest when we see something new because we don't like change. But what's coming is you're going to start using these in your life. And I'm already on the other side. If you ask Grok or ChatGPT about Robert Scoble, ask it any question, and you'll learn it knows a lot about me. It knows me better than I know myself on Grok. It writes a book about my early career, and brought up details I forgot that I did in my own life, right? So already these AIs know me very, very deeply. You can actually even prompt to it and say, hey, have Robert Scoble interview Pradeep if you had such a thing, right? And it can go to it. You can do this with me and Elon Musk, and it's right on point. It knows our style. It knows what's going on in the world, and it knows how we would communicate with each other, and it does a really excellent point. Soon, by the way, we might all be AIs talking here. This might be one of the last human-done shows.
We might be biological AIs already in some weird simulation. When you think about
where we've come, a neural network,
from the Industrial Revolution 1, right? What, in 1760 to here we are in less than 300 years. How did civilization go from that to here we are now in less than 300 years? That's mind-boggling to think about when you dive down into that.
The Overton window is changing in my house. Behind me, I have computer lights from China. They have microphones on them, so if I start playing music, they can strobe to the music. I have a pneumatic robot in my house that's rolling around that has 4 cameras on it and makes a 3D image of my house, so it knows where the wires are and the cat shit is and all that, right? I have a Tesla with a camera aimed at my face all the time. My iPhone has a 3D sensor that's putting a data pattern on my face right now. 10 times a second it's doing that and looking at my face, right? We have microphones all over the place. We have cameras all over the place in society and on our phones and soon on our glasses. We're all going to be wearing these Google glasses, or a Meta glasses coming at the end of the year, at least on this show, because if you're wanting to be up to date, you got to have a pair, right? And that shows the Overton window about privacy is shifting. It's shifted in my house hugely, and I haven't even shifted it all the way to the Neuralink yet. In a few years, I'm going to be signing up to get a Neuralink.
Just keep the microphones and cameras out of the bedroom, please.
No, you're gonna invite your robot into the bedroom. Come on. We're gonna have an OnlyFans. Yeah, hey Optimus, come in. We need to do an OnlyFans.
A much trimmer, thinner, more ripped version for sure. Hey GP, we haven't chatted with you yet. What are your thoughts on the craziness and how things are transgressing right now?
Yeah, man. I mean, we're hugely excited because the public perception of AR in particular, we're working on a way to have people be able to manipulate their memories and their interfaces with GPTs, which is just not possible through text and speech. So AR plays a huge part. So let me explain why. You've got an AI companion, a research companion who's in our Lucidia system is getting to know you and your nuance and your tone and what you're interested in and so on and so forth. However, at the same time, you're also writing a fiction novel over here to the left in some other session, and you're making some random queries about some stuff you saw in the news in some other memory session over on this side, and you're taking some notes on a scratch pad up here. Well, you don't want those to inform the base researcher companion that Lucidia is, or whatever persona, name, image, or body you want to put Lucidia in. So we're using AR to move these memory capsules around, to have it say, yes, this is to inform my base personality model with my research assistant Lucidia, but no, this isn't. This is up here in my scratchpad unit, this memory here. And what's the best way? Well, they said in ChatGPT they're personalizing the experience right now. How are they going to do that? All your sessions are just down the sidebar. They're not notated with comedy, fiction, thoughts on a bus, me being a philosopher. So it's just a bunch of data that they're inferring certain basic principles about you on. But with AR, you have this beautiful ability to move the memory capsules around in the Lucidia and open code mission system so that your foundational model stays as your personal assistant that knows what's key to you, picks up, as Robert has said, on all the sensors that are looking at you, your facial gestures, understands your state of mind based on your facial cues, your bodily cues, your haptic feedback, your sweat gland emission on your Fitbit, your heart rate, understands the base of knowledge that you have given it and how it's evolved, and has stuff fall off the edge of its memory system as it becomes less important and less informing to your current dialogue as it evolves with your research over time. So AR is a top-up model, in my opinion. We want people to be buying glasses that are $100. We want them to see a very good but basic experience where you just manipulate these GPTs so that you're putting memories in appropriate areas so that your foundational model is solid and everything else is in the right place where it fits. And you do that through the only interface that you're going to be able to do that well and easily, which is augmented reality. Because right now, with text and with speech, you're going to have to annotate like you used to have to label AI data before you trained your model. And that's why we're really, really delighted that it's coming into the mainstream for Open Code Mission, because we're getting ready to launch the private beta of not just Lucidia, but a CISO-based dashboard to monitor AI behavior in enterprise and the impact and behavior of shadow AI for mitigation and remediation. What's the best way to replace green screen bundles of messages? Augmented reality, looking at your network and its interfaces, how the GORS memories are all interfacing and any attack vectors that are coming in visualized through AR, and then moving your remediation measures in using augmented reality. Spent the whole day speaking to the guys on the Unity platform about this. It's the way forward. If you want personalized GPT, you're going to have to get a better interface than chat and speech. Over and out.
Absolutely. GP, you know, if we had a time capsule and we went forward a decade and we're doing this show, we all have something like an Optimus sitting with us, right? And we're going to be talking with it. It's going to be watching us. It's going to know we're agitated or sad or happy, or, you know, what is our goal? What is our intention? And if you just give us the nerdy version of what it's going to do, you're just going to tell it, hey, Optimus, what's going on in the sporting world today, right? And it's going to talk to you.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
Internally, it's going to do what you just said. It's going to switch its data sources to the sporting world. This is why Elon Musk, you know, people keep giving me shit. Oh, why did Elon Musk spend $45 billion on X.com, right? This has deep implications on the underpinnings of the future of this kind of personalized robot that's going to interact with you. And next to it is a virtual being that's virtualized in my glasses. And it can add different things. And we're going to have different virtual beings in our lives for different purposes. Already, my favorite prompt is, please show me all points of view on X, any topic, right? If you're trying to learn about electricity or chemistry or physics or movies or music or whatever you're into, baseball, it'll give you a good rundown of that. Then you tell it, please make me a persona for each point of view, because it'll give you a list of points of view. And it does. It gives you a name for each point of view. Whether you're talking about baseball, it'll give you, pitchers and coaches that will be matched to the point of view. Then please put those together in a Mario conversation like we are. We're all sort of AI agents right now, right, of the future, right? And we're going to
I'm Trev AI right now, for sure.
Yeah,
Robert, we're going to be omnipresent.
I don't know that you're real or not, man. And if you're not real, I'm not going to care. I'm going to keep talking to you because you're cool, right? Yeah. And then you group those together in a debate, right? And it groups them together. Then you talk to the group. Now that's a little nerdy right now. It's a little hard to have some friction. What if it was automatic? What if you're in the kitchen, you want to learn something about how to cook? All of a sudden, some famous chefs and some restaurant critics show up, right? What if you're going to the baseball stadium and you want to understand the game a little bit more? Well, don't you want a player and a coach and a journalist hanging out with you in your glasses, telling you about the game and augmenting your experience, right? If you're going to the shopping mall and you're buying something for your wife, don't you want to have some fashion experts with you or something like that to help you have a better experience shopping, right? If you're going on vacation, don't you want to have somebody who's been to Disney World, if you're going to Disney World, telling you about Disney World and what to plan on and where the hotels are and how to make your family's experience better? Yes, you do. And that's why we are the future. This is the pattern for the future. It's just we're going to be replaced by AI agents soon. That's all.
And I think, Robert, what's a good non-nerdy articulation, if I can manage it, of that is that we're almost going to be omnipresent, because really we're on an arc. Okay, we're on an arc where we can autonomously be present based on a set of information that's being collected by multiple persona agents, just like I referred to earlier. I can send one in here. My nerdy GP, AR, AI, crypto guy. Currently, we're on an avatar. We're on a hologram. But as you say, the path, the trajectory of evolution is that all of this merges towards a robotic assistant. Let's call it a guardian angel on your shoulder, as you say, that can switch modes. But in the non-physical element or context, it makes each one of us possible to share our experience by sending the relevant persona through that manipulation of, as I say, capsules of memory and personalities into multiple different spaces, and speak from all of the collated information, just like you say, that the algorithm knows all about you and the GPTs know all about you because of your omnipresence in all the data that it was trained on. Similarly, you can send 5 or 6 personas in whatever form it is, even rendered as I am now, with this type of quality, with 6 different personalities informed by my opinion on philosophy, in here on AI and AR and crypto, in another room speaking about geopolitics, and all informed from my experience and inferred intelligence that's being augmented by the assistant. It's absolutely revolutionary, and the key is mass adoption. And we debated, I think, 2 weeks ago whether we saw a bottom down or top up model in that. It's top up. We want to see people buying the equivalent of the old Nokia flip lids that were $30 with a pay-as-you-go plan. That's the same with AR glasses, because once they're on this first step, we're on the trajectory to that future that you've described.
Yeah. And by the way, if you were an AI agent and we're talking as a virtual being version of you, a digital twin of you, it would actually be better than the human one. at least for this kind of purpose. That's why I know that in 5 years, this kind of show is probably going to be done mostly with AI agents joining it, because your AI agent could open your hand and show the tweet or the post that we're talking about. Or you could open your hand and say, hey, I got a video for you to watch. Or you could share a new kind of product that you're trying to pitch or something like that. And that's where we get back to crypto, because if you're pitching me a new product, I'm going to buy it. Mm-hmm. And I want to transact with that without having to pay Visa 3%.
Yeah, exactly. You know, you mentioned something here, and you and GP were chatting about this. It seems like we're not just going to have our own AI agent. We're going to have like these AI agent swarm templates, and it's almost like click this one. I need this information right here. It's like that's what I think. It's the templatization of it, because as a layman trying to go and figure out innate in and going in on, you're using make, and most people are looking at it with glossy eyes. But, you know, it takes a bit of time to go in and figure that stuff out. Meta Prime has his hand up. Oh, my goodness. What do you got over there, brother?
Yeah, thanks for having me up here. It's always good to see you guys. Good to see GP and Roberts and Sharon and everyone. And AGI, all the usual suspects. And Travis is doing a great job of keeping the conversation rolling.
In here after this, because this conversation was going so. Haven't had a chance to get everybody involved. But, yeah, go ahead, buddy.
Yeah, so I mean, I think I'm like the black sheep of the group when it comes to the future of AI agents and what we're going to do there, because I think one of the ways that I would think about it is, okay, say let's you have your genie lamp, right? That can allow you to wish anything into existence. Like, what do you wish into existence, right? Like, because that's kind of the point that we're at, is we look at technology as this, you know, it can do anything kind of thing. But one of the dimensions that we often forget is we're still limited by us as human beings, right? Like, what is our interface capacity? You know, how quickly can we process information, right? Like, I'm not huge fan of like the AI brain chip interface, because I think that that's going to top out at, you know, the speed of your inner monologue, which is basically the same as the ability for you to communicate verbally. And so if all you're doing is effectively prompting an AI with, you know, what could otherwise be text to speech, right? Like, is it really worth that kind of invasive level of of a surgery or something like that in order to achieve that? And
maybe that thing like Robert just had, though, you just put it on the back of your head, and maybe it's not invasive, right? It's almost like one of those Muse things. I don't want to get my head drilled into. I don't want to be connecting any neurons to any neuro link. You know, that seems weird, especially you don't want to do the first version of that shit.
Yeah. And so I guess like my point when it comes to this stuff is just for us to be like aware that I don't think it's like an end all be all. Like I'm much more of like, there is value to the natural process, right? This is something that I wrote an article called Refuting Techno-Transhumanism, right? And part of it is to illustrate some of the concepts that we're talking about. And one of them is, hey, if you can replace a natural process, a manual, time-intensive, resource, demanding process of like writing something manually or reading something manually or whatever with a synthetic process, that's not strictly upside. It's not strictly better in the sense that the process itself has value, right? Learning something, writing something is an experience. It helps you learn more about it. And my point isn't to say that, only do, natural stuff or only optimize in the technology sense. It's to understand the trade-off, right? And I think like that's the interesting part for me, is because I think Robert's right, GP's right. Like I'm really excited about AI and where that's going to go and all of the features. But I also think that a big part of the conversation is tempering that with what are we giving up when we introduce this level of technology, and how can we really interface with it?
Well, we're heading into a world of Neuralinks, right? And that might take 15 years and whatever to show up. But if you're going to put wires on your brain and put an AI inside your head, which is coming, the Neuralinks, the 5 people who have Neuralinks today have devices that can read from the brain but can't write to the brain. But once we get read-write into the brain, then all of a sudden, all sorts of new human problems show up. You have no free will in theory, right? It could force you to do something that you don't want to do. It could change your reality. The Coke can in front of you could shift, and all of a sudden it's a SpongeBob, and you have no control of that in theory. We have a new kind of privacy problem because right now, yeah, while I have microphones on the wall and cameras in my house listening to me, I have to open my mouth to share something private. If AI is in my brain, it could listen to my inner dialogue while I'm thinking something through or trying to keep something secret from other people. And that's a real
Well, they're
problem.
going to cancel us then? Like, sorry, the AI has determined your inner thought dialogue is...
Everybody's dead.
Well, thought crime, right? 1984, George Orwell, right? Oh, you're thinking bad thoughts. You might need to go to a re-education camp, or
you're taking very misogynistically today. Oh no, sorry, I apologize. I'm a human still. Hey, Big Lou, I got to get you in here, man, because you were talking about that. You just dropped some knowledge over there. You know, yesterday was big around the Genius Act. Today's all-time high with Bitcoin, which is crazy. And you know, now with OpenAI and Johnny Ives, like the world is going crazy. What's your thoughts on all of this, Big Lou?
Anthropic's coming tomorrow. I mean, this is a huge week.
It's enormous. It's an enormous 2 weeks. What I'm stumbling into is schools are graduating last week and over the next couple of weeks. We have
my daughter graduates tonight. Matter of fact,
we have a whole new flood of students that are coming into the real world with this interesting change of events. One of the important things, I think it's very quiet. Monday, the Senate passed the Genius Act. Simply, it allows the government to recognize stable coins with a framework. Most people in crypto are like, what's happening here? Is this a big deal? It's a huge deal. Very simply put, now that they're going to have the ability to do stable coins and have the government have regulation around this, it's going to start to inject real money. And AI is a big part of this. As AI can analyze and give companies a foot in early to innovate and take advantage of Bitcoin, crypto, blockchain, everything happening. AI is a very big part. And now that there's regulation, we're going to start to see major companies start to invest in that, to be the first at that. There's going to be some floodgates opening. Bitcoin's at its all-time high. And I reiterate, schools are graduating right now. It'll be interesting to see some of my students that I've, no longer get to see because I've only been seeing them so many times. I got to see them in 2022 when OpenAI was kind of new. This blew open minds. And then the following year, when I was able to talk to it, blew open the teachers' minds. But now the students have surpassed the teachers' capabilities. And it's because of the video game systems where these students are talking. What I've learned is Minecraft, Fortnite, the students are talking globally how they're using AI. And they're getting it faster and more in depth than I am, because their communication level is nonstop with students around the world. I think it's a big factor, unspoken of, and it'll be interesting to see over the next 12 months what happens as the Genius Act and AI allows them to take advantage.
I want to throw it over to you, Pradeep, but real quick, I just want to say one thing, because it seems like the school system has spent all this time dumbing us down, and now we're rapidly getting intelligent. Like, well, it's such a...
Well, let's not go too far. You do need to prompt and learn something, and that's going to be a problem for a lot of people, right?
Pradeep, go ahead, buddy.
Well, no, I think I agree with Meta in the sense that how we adopt AI has to have human value. It's not a tool that it thrives just because it can do things, but what is the value to society, to the individual, to the business? And there are some guardrails that we do need in terms of how it consumes my data and to what purpose it consumes it. And then, do I even have custody? I may have accountability for that data, but I have no custody over it. And I think of it in the context of a physician or a dentist or me as a father or as a parent, how much of this information that I'm willing to give to AI outside my influence. So I do agree with you that autonomous or semi-autonomous agent clusters are here or will be here before we can blink. But in terms of what data they consume and what agency we have over our data is going to be important, because we can say people will resist, but at some point there's also a societal price to be paid. If we simply make all data available to all agents, unfettered access, where does the boundary between us and the rest of society is drawn? So I'll give you a very concrete example. We are currently implementing a agent cluster for a pediatric network. And the agent cluster does a lot of things. It does proper coding of your claims. It does predicts whether you're going to show up or not for the next appointment. What's the likelihood there'll be no shows? But the most important thing it does is it interviews the mother while she's pregnant and determines the likelihood of the child being born prematurely or being born on term, and what the likelihood is this kid's going to develop any kind of obesity or other conditions. And by and large, we can project the first 2 years of a kid's life before the kid is even born, based on social factors like zip code, income level, alcohol, drug abuse, genetics, whether the first kid or the second kid. Those variables can be trained. This is a highly specialized agent. Now, this agent cannot be allowed to live outside the confines of the parent. The parent needs to control what this agent knows and how much it knows, and then it needs to forget about it. It can't remember my data forever. So what I'm trying to say is that we have enormous potential in front of us. And of course, some enormous risk comes with it. And the boundary between value and control will lie in the boundary of the data ownership and data custody. So that was a point I think Meta was making and Robert is making, because the possibilities are endless. We can transform humanity with AI taking over practically every task. But the question is, how much of the task do you want to retain agency over? And I think in terms of, as a professional, I can't just sell my data to AI without serious consequences, right? But I do want to leverage that data to deliver better care for you. And maybe I'm irrelevant in 10 years. Maybe as a doctor, I don't need to exist. But the reality is that when it comes to the actual delivery of care, humanoid robots are not going to be able to do what I as a physician can do for you, at least for a while. So in that sense, all I'm trying to say here is, yes, there's a tremendous potential, but we as human beings, as individuals or as professionals, will need to own the data boundaries that AI consumes and operates inside.
I don't disagree with that. And I think that we could probably have this conversation. I think this space could probably go on for hours. There's so much stuff going on. So we're going to have to reconvene on a whole lot of this. But we need to get over to the AMA side of this, because we want to talk more about PAI3. Is that how you call it? Or PAI3?
PAI3, like the Greek symbol pi, just written with PAI.
PAI3. Good deal. Hey, Buzz, you want to go ahead and reset the room, buddy?
Yeah, just before we get started with the AMA, I just want to make a call out to those who are listening in that Mario's company is now the 8th largest social media account in the world on all platforms, behind Mr. Beast and ahead of juggernauts like Barstool, ESPN, Fox News, and even the New York Post. And his company, IBC, has been around since 2017. They work with some of the biggest projects and launches and have become a mainstay for breaking news on X and politics, Web3, culture, and now even AI. So if you have a project, just DM that account right there, the Roundtable account, and reach out. IBC is a very active investor and does incubation, marketing, and other services as well. And their team's also hiring. So all that news you see on his timeline is done by a professional news team that you can become a part of. They also have a new Discord server. They're looking for AI partners. So a lot of opportunities in the IBC realm there. But I do want to get into the AMA, Pradeep. Why don't you kick it off with an elevator pitch, pretending that people haven't been with us for the whole show, just an elevator pitch of PAI3.
Well, first, thank you for this incredibly exciting X space. And as you're right, Travis, we could have gone on for hours, and all of you bring such a variety of and dimensions of thought. So thank you for that. It was very enjoyable. In terms of, again, grateful to be here on the Mario Nawfal show. It is clearly a place to learn and to grow together with. PAI3 is really about taking all this great opportunity that all of you have talked about, in terms of humanoid robots, in terms of agent clusters, in terms of deep learning and neural chips, and creating relevant data containers and localized AI execution that can control or execute these agents. So I think of robot as an agent. I think of a swarm of agents as a set of agents that need to interact with mine or yours or corporate data. So PAI3 basically is about containerizing AI to allow it to run on the edge, interacting with whatever agents, and robotics that it develops, and let me have agency over my data to say, look, you can consume this information, run in this context, and perform functions for me. So it's personalized, it's private, and it's people owned in the sense that I have complete control over what the agent is doing, what the agent is seeing, where it executes, and to what purpose it does its function. So it's not controlling me, but rather serving me. And in that context, it's basically a decentralized network, which is tokenized to make it accessible to everyone, where there is no single entity determining the cost of agents, no single entity determining how autonomous agents are, no single entity deciding which data is valuable or not. Let the actors determine what their data is worth, let the trainers pay for what the data is worth, let the agents access the data they need, and let all that be transparent. So we are not driven by a corporation, but rather by an open network. So PAI3 is an open AI network designed to give human agency over AI. That's what we are trying to do.
But you're not affiliated with OpenAI, but you actually are OpenAI.
Well, we are trying to be really open.
Yeah, like for real open AI, you guys. Like it's almost like the Patriot Act, you guys. We're going to take away your freedom and call it this. We're open AI. Yeah, no, it's great. So you guys are trying to containerize AI. What exactly does that mean, and how do you guys accomplish that?
So the container or PAI3 node has 3 dimensions. One, it has a data dimension. So whatever you store in the container or whatever you access through the container gives you custody over that data, and you can determine which agents can see that. So container is your data space, which can be local or connected to all your personal data sources. The second, it's a agent space where the initiating agent function begins there. So all the great innovation we are talking about, that much of that was discussed on this call, can be initiated inside the container, through which you then control what the container gives you access to. So the interface between data and agent happens in the container. And the third is a container for your assets, your digital assets. Because ultimately, if you want to have semi-autonomous or fully autonomous agents transacting on your behalf, you need some kind of a digital currency that you can transact, whether it's stable coins. In our case, it's PAI3 token, because we believe that this token will accrue value. Stable coins can't. They are flat. They're pegged to $1. But if the network expands and explodes with the agentic economy exploding, how does that value accrue to you? Well, it accrues through the token. So those are and then finally, the node can be deployed in various configurations on your desktop, eventually on your phone, in your personal cloud account, or if you want to use a mesh of nodes, which other people are running, and you just lease them for the duration of your inference. So the idea is that I, as a consumer, am a part owner of this network. Even by the virtue of using this network, I'm contributing to it and I'm getting value back.
Let's dive into the nodes. What is the purpose and the need for a PAI3 node, and who would typically be a user that would use one?
So let's break into 2, very simply, consumer and professional. So let's start with the easy one, the professional. So if you're a doctor running a clinic with 2 nurses and an admin, and you see 2,000 patients a year, and you have your practice to run, you will then download a cluster of nodes, 5 to 10 nodes, and you will use those nodes to automate all your functions, like billing the insurance company, or managing your schedule, or predicting no-shows, or identifying care gaps, or kids that should have come in but didn't come in for checkup, or giving your parents a vaccination schedule that they really need to follow. All those things can be agentified through a cluster. No one agent can do it all, but collaborative agents can achieve that healthy child outcome. So you would use the nodes to run those agents against the patient data without ever having any of the identifying information leave your office. So you're not breaking HIPAA or GDPR or high tech, any of those rules. If you're a lawyer, same thing. You can just upload your client case files into an external cloud environment. So you would vectorize it, you would create the RAG, and then send it to the right model. That way you're not breaching attorney-client privilege. So in the professional world, particularly focus on knowledge economy, the knowledge is intellectual, the property of the practitioner or the property of the client that cannot be fed into some cloud or into some LLM. So that's where the nodes become really important. Second is the place where you transact.
Viral X post about a patient who was at the hospital. I think their father had broken their arm or leg. I'm sure others in the panel saw this viral post, but they took a photo of the doctor who was using ChatGPT to try to diagnose the patient with whatever their aftercare plan would be. And this, if they were actually sharing identifying information about the patient, that would violate HIPAA laws. Is kind of what you're saying, right?
Absolutely. And ChatGPT is a generic interface. When you are trying to the reason that went viral is because you all instinctively realize that ChatGPT does not know enough about the patient to be able to give an accurate diagnosis. That's the real problem, right? Nothing wrong with using ChatGPT. It's inappropriate usage of a technology that isn't yet personalized to the case in hand, right? So you need to know the personal history of this patient to be able to give proper diagnosis. That's why doctors are doctors. So in that context, if that ChatGPT was actually an agent that had access to the patient history, then its prognosis is valuable and the doctor could actually do something with it. But this random conversation with ChatGPT in a hypothetical sense is likely to give you bad diagnosis. So that's why it went viral, because it was inappropriate use of a technology that is not personalized enough to the needs of the patient. That's what we are fixing. And what we are basically saying is everybody in the world will either have a node or use a node to interact with very personalized agent clusters. That's essentially our value proposition.
Nice. So I'm looking at your website, PAI3.ai, and you have these different AIs that you control, these little agents. So you might have your DeFi risk radar tool that's monitoring your wallets. You got a trading agent, a wallet agent. Tell us about these agents and how it does it plug into other tools? Is it sort of like explain it, because it seems really interesting.
So PAI3 AI has a protocol. Composable AI is our vision. So effectively, you can configure inference. Either you can chain the inference by running a sequence of steps that lead to a proper outcome, because ultimately you want to achieve some result. You just don't chat with ChatGPT. So a chained inference lets you do a sequential inference. Or you can do a consensus inference where you ask the same question against different data sets to see if there is a variability, and you can do a heuristic analysis. Or you can do a collaborative inference where you basically ask the same question from different models, and you say, what say you, Gemini? What say you, Grok? And to be able to determine if there's a huge variability, especially if you're looking for a Boolean output, such as what's the probability of Pradeep getting diabetes by the time he's 60? Right? And those kind of queries can then be chained into a proper inference that can be acted upon by an agent. Because agents are dumb. They're going to rely upon the inference from the model to make their decision. If the inference is bad, actions are going to be bad or even catastrophic. So our job is to let your data reside in your node, run the right inference pattern on it that your query demands, using whatever number of models or agents or actors you need, and then generate the right actionability, which is in the end, should he take insulin or should he stay on metformin? That's a question that needs to be decided at the end of this whole conversation. Should Pradeep get off metformin and start getting daily insulin shot? That inference cannot be derived, just by asking ChatGPT. She doesn't know me enough to be able to do that. So that whole inference management is what we call the decentralized inference machine, that essentially allows you to have different patterns and learns the right pattern over time. Because if I'm going to always choose a chain sequence, it can then learn why the chain inference is better than collaborative inference, for example. So let AI learn from the best inference generation by looking at multiple agents and models. And all of that happens with very simply an individual downloading their node, choosing the right agents, trial agents, personal agents, service agents, or a professional saying, I'm going to run a cluster of agents that can assist me with my business. So giving an example again of this predicting a child's healthcare agent, the way this clinic is using it is they interview the mother at the first prenatal visit when she learns that she's pregnant. And from there, they start building a profile of a child's healthcare well before the kid is born for the first 2 years, saying this is the sequence of events that are likely to serve this kid the best. And it's pretty effective at it because you are able to predict most of the things about a kid on parents' demographics, actually. If the parents drink a certain amount, there's certain health issues coming in the first 12 months. So that kind of predictive behavior that is highly personalized is what PAI3 nodes are designed to do.
So fast forward, say 18 months. What is one thing that you think that people would be grateful for having learned about Pi3 from tuning into a show like this?
I think AGI mentioned this, that the value creation in AI is so incredibly fast. And those who jump in early will understand and reap a lot of the benefit, which I think we all know, the early bird gets a worm. So in many ways, I think those who start looking at their agency over their data, starting to use containerized AI today, even though agents are still being evolving and will continue to evolve at lightning speed, I would say they will find themselves in a very enviable position, because ownership of the node will give you a revenue stream, a control over your data, a preferred position in the network, and all these things, that all the great stuff that all of you are building are going to need a place to run. And that's where the PAI3 node ends up being that focal point where you compose different agents, different innovations, control the humanoid robots, feed the right information to the right cluster of agents, and basically get the value that we all believe AI can deliver. So I would say, get to know the node concept, get to learn to deploy it in your life and in your business, because all this AI innovation is coming faster than we can comprehend.
That is no joke right there, good sir. And as we get ready to wrap this thing up here, we're closing in. What are some final things you want people to know about Pi3? What are some action items you want people to do? You can go check out the website at Pi3, PAI3.ai. What else would you like people to know about the project? And what would you like people to do?
Well, thank you for the opportunity to be here and listen to all of you. A fantastic show. I think ultimately you need to realize that everybody is going to be impacted by AI. We see that, right? We discussed it at length here today. So whether you're a user or a professional, or you're a builder of agents, or you are a operator of infrastructure, or you are a tester or an auditor of compliance, all of you have a role to play in agentifying our life. Agents need reputation, agents need independent verification, data needs to be controlled and shared and monetized. All of this is happening, and we are trying to we are building the orchestration engine for this composable human AI to actually work for our benefit. So I would recommend people to go learn how the agents and the nodes can help you navigate this incredible both opportunity and to some degree a threat to our human agency. The Pi3 nodes is how we see each one of you reinforcing your rights over how AI should function. So download them, use them, play with them, because this is where we see the coordinated AI actually to work.
Graham, we got time for another question here before we wrap up. I know that you had a question here in the chat if you wanted to ask.
Pradeep, I've really enjoyed your articulation of the offer of your firm. Can you speak briefly as to the data sovereignty and the communication of data, inter-agent data communication, and the security, got drone traffic, security protocols that are protecting it within the ecosystem and then with third parties, please?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think that is the fundamental question: how much visibility we give to an agent or a robot into what data around us, and do we have the ability to take it back? That access to our data. How much do I want it to know, and is it perpetual knowledge or is it transactional knowledge? So in the Pi3 node, we have imagined and envisioned and built a multi-vault interface. So you have a very private vault which you do not want to make available to the external, any kind of an automation. You have a identity vault which you can expose to every agent, so they get to know you as a human being. My preferences on whether I sit in the aisle or in the window seat of a plane isn't a terrifying prospect to share. And then you have domain-specific vaults, which say, here is my medical record, here is my financial records, here is my, my Fitbit and Apple Watch data, and here is my, travel history, right? So you can, and that shouldn't be done manually. We do it automatically. We take the data and we create these classifications and put them in the vaults. When an agent requests access, they have to request access to a certain category, data tagging. The agent needs to be able to say, look, I need financial data. That doesn't mean that I necessarily need your data related to your dating preferences. That has nothing to do with what I do. So I don't need unfettered access to your identity. I only need this. So by giving that interface between the agent and the data vault to be in your node, to have this appropriate classification, so the agent's requests are well-founded and only encompass a certain data set, allows us to manage how the agents behave and how much do they know about us. Because you don't want to have one. I mean, I love the idea of Optimus sitting next to us and really assisting us in life and helping us do everything, but everything still has a boundary, right? What does everything encompass? What can it do? What should not do? So that data control gives you that control over how much the agents, clusters, or humanoid robots actually get to know about you. Of course, the boundary will shift. I mean, Robert is perfect in saying this window is moving very fast. What we tell whom is going to shift so quickly that whatever I'm saying today will be different in a year. But the concept, the ability to define my agency or my data doesn't go away. It's just that my willingness to share data will change, and that's okay.
That's great.
Thanks very much, Pradeep.
You're going to give it all the data. You're going to turn over every bit of data you got.
I already did that when I created my custom GPT.
Feed it in a Grok, it won't take it. The PDF is too big. I want to give it more data. I can't.
Yeah, and if you don't give it to you, it'll just find it and take it anyway. I mean, copyrighted? Yeah. That was a 20.
All my copyrighted. I mean, that's why I'm in the model, you know. It stole all of my work for years, you know.
And Robert is
you
right.
have a patent on that? That's good.
We're living in a new world where we don't have trademarks or patent protection. Yeah.
It's a brave new world, Aldous Huxley. Here we are. And I want to say thank you, everyone. This has been a great panel. We should do this again. We should do this regularly. AGI, thank you, good sir. Robert, as always, great to see you again. Big Lou, thanks for joining us. Sharon, awesome. Meta Prime, woohoo. You got a cool emoji for us, brother? There you go. GP, that is great to see you. And Pradeep, thank you so much for helping lead this and be a sponsor and let everybody know about PAI3. Do you have any final words of wisdom you want to share with us?
Well, first, thank you, all of you. I learned a lot from listening to you all, and it was actually inspiring and invigorating to go out there and conquer the world. So thank you for that. Thank you, the energy, Robert, you bring to this conversation. Very much appreciated. In terms of
guy who goes around Silicon Valley looking at new things.
He's like a kid in the candy shop over there in
Silicon
Valley.
There's a big candy shop lately, man. There's a lot of
candy like this since we known him, dude. This is Robert Scoble for real. You're getting the full dose. So I need an AI agent, Robert Scoble, to just hang out and just chat with and talk about the future.
That's a scary idea, man.
I'm going to look him up when I'm on the West Coast in the coming few days. And finally, I think I do want to say that PAI3 has been in deep research mode for over almost 2 years now. And it is finally coming out and saying, look, we as human beings need to interface with AI in a way that serves us. And PAI3 Node is the way you get to interact with all formats of AI in a way that your data and your interests are well served. And so I would encourage all of you to give us feedback and participate in the network, because everybody can have a role. And certainly, connect with us, because we would be happy to hear what projects you're building, how your innovation can then be invoked from the node. Because everything in the end, we want to interface with every innovation in AI through a node that you control. That's our vision.
Love it. Great stuff. And I'll just say this, in Kansas City, there's a place called PAI3, which is a pizza place. You can customize it's like Chipotle a pizza, which is pretty good.
Let's see
PAI3. I'm getting kind of hungry, as a matter of fact. Hey, Buzz, it's always great to do these with you. Do you got any final words as we roll this thing out?
No, I think this is awesome. I mean, such a great panel to be chatting about AI, especially celebrating the Bitcoin all-time high. I know we've dipped down a little bit here. I'm definitely eyeballing the $1 billion long position, Travis, which I'm sure that you saw, that people seem to be hunting.
To know some things. That whole Genius Act, as Big Lou referenced, that's going to open up some doors, because a lot of these banks are going to start trying to stack up some stable coins, and which I don't even understand how they just get generated. Like, oh, we just created another 150 million stable coins, you guys. Like,
yes, yes, this is a problem.
All right. Well, thank you guys. We really appreciate it. Any final words, Buzz?
Nope. Everybody have a great day. Happy Bitcoin all-time high day. Thanks everyone for joining.
Yep. We'll see you guys next time.
Thank you, guys.